They thought blocking the road would stop me from taking my daughter to school. They thought calling me a threat will make me back down. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated a father's love and a tech engineer's creativity. The name's Marcus Thompson, and I'm about to tell you how a group of so-called peaceful protesters turned my daughter's education into a battlefield, and how I transformed their discrimination into the most expensive lesson they ever learned. See, when they decided to block the only road to my daughter's school and call me a threat for simply existing while black, they had no idea they were messing with someone who'd spent 15 years designing systems to solve complex problems. Today, those protesters are facing federal civil rights charges, while my daughter Aisha just won the state science fair with an app that's protecting families nationwide. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all started, on what should have been just another Tuesday morning in Oakland, California. A morning that began with father-daughter pancakes and ended with me being surrounded by 20 protesters calling me dangerous for trying to take my 8-year-old to school. Some folks say you should turn the other cheek when faced with injustice. Others say you should take the high road. Me? I say sometimes you need to build your own road and put up a toll booth for anyone who tries to block it. This is the story of how one black father's morning commute became a movement, how a smartphone app brought down a network of discriminatory activists, and how my little girl learned that sometimes the best science project is the one that changes your community forever. The smell of fresh pancakes filled the kitchen as Marcus Thompson's smart home assistant announced the time. Good morning, Marcus. It's 6:45 a.m. Current temperature is 62 degrees. Aisha's alarm is set for 7 a.m. You have the quarterly investor meeting at 10 a.m. Marcus smiled, flipping the pancake with practiced precision. He'd programmed the house himself, every sensor, every automation, every voice response. It was one of the perks of being a software engineer who'd sold his first startup at 30. Now, at 38, he could work from home, consulting for tech companies while being the kind of present father he'd wished he'd had growing up. Thanks, Arya, he said to the AI system. He'd named it after his late wife's favorite constellation, Ariadne. She'd passed 3 years ago, leaving him and Aisha to figure out life together. The automated home helped fill some of the gaps, keeping their routine smooth, even when grief made everything else feel impossibly hard. Dad, do I smell pancakes? Aisha's voice carried down the stairs, followed by the rapid patter of 8-year-old feet. She appeared in the doorway, already dressed in her school uniform, navy blue polo and khaki skirt, with her natural hair pulled back in 2 perfectly spherical puffs that she'd insisted on styling herself. Not just any pancakes. Marcus grinned, sliding a plate across the breakfast bar. Brain power pancakes for the future winner of the Oakwood Elementary Science Fair. Aisha climbed onto the bar stool, her face lighting up. You added blueberries. Mom always said blueberries were brain food. That's right, baby girl. And today, you're going to need all the brain power you can get for your presentation. Marcus poured syrup into the little well he'd made in the center of her pancake stack, their special tradition. You ready to show them how your water purification system works? I practiced 17 times, Aisha said proudly, taking a big bite. I even timed it. For minutes and 32 seconds, leaving 30 seconds for questions like you said. Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. Aisha had inherited her mother's brilliance and his methodical approach to problem solving. At 8, she was already thinking like an engineer, breaking down complex problems into manageable steps. Her science fair project, a miniature water purification system using UV light and activated charcoal, had taken 2 months of weekend work in his garage workshop. That's my girl. Now, what's our morning checklist? Aisha counted on her fingers. Backpack, check. Science project, already loaded in your truck. Homework, in my folder. Lunch money, wait, Dad, it's Tuesday. Tuesday is chicken nugget day, and I need extra for chocolate milk. Marcus pulled out his wallet, adding an extra $1 to her lunch envelope. There you go. And remember, I know. Aisha interrupted with a grin. If anyone gives me trouble, I use my words first, find a teacher second, and only call you if it's a real emergency. That's right. Marcus ruffled her hair gently. careful not to mess up her puffs. Though after yesterday's practice run, I don't think anyone's going to give you trouble. You killed that presentation. They moved through their morning routine with comfortable efficiency. While Aisha brushed her teeth, Marcus loaded the dishwasher and checked his emails. 3 new clients interested in his automated inventory system. 2 messages from his business partner, Chun, about their latest app update. 1 reminder from a school about the science fair, starting at 8:30 sharp. Aria, start the truck, please. Set temperature to 72 degrees. Starting vehicle. Climate control set. Your usual route to Oakwood Elementary shows normal traffic conditions. Estimated drive time, 12 minutes. Marcus had chosen their house in the Laurel District specifically for its proximity to Oakwood Elementary. It was one of the best public schools in Oakland, with a STEM program that rivaled private institutions. The commute took them through the Hillcrest neighborhood, old money Oakland with its tree-lined streets and Victorian houses that probably cost more than he'd make in a lifetime. Dad, can we listen to the science playlist? Aisha asked as they headed to the garage. She'd already grabbed her backpack and was bouncing on her toes with excitement. Of course. Aria, play Aisha's science playlist on the truck speakers. The garage door rolled up smoothly, revealing Marcus's black Ford F-150, practical for hauling equipment for his side projects, but luxurious enough for client meetings. Aisha's science project was carefully secured in the truck bed, covered with a tarp to protect it from the morning fog. As they pulled out of the driveway, the opening notes of "She Blinded Me with Science" filled the cabin. Aisha giggled. It was her inside joke, the cheesy 80s song that had become their anthem for science fair days. Dad, do you think Mom will be proud? Aisha asked suddenly, her voice smaller than before. Marcus reached over and squeezed her hand. Baby girl, your mom would be over the moon. She loved science, she loved innovation, and most of all, she loved you. She's definitely proud. They drove through their neighborhood, passing the corner store where Mr. Kim always waved at them, the small park where Aisha had learned to ride her bike, the community center where Marcus volunteered teaching coding to local kids. This was their world, a carefully constructed life built on routine, love, and the promise that education could open any door. The route to school was the same every day. Down MLK Junior Way, left on Hillcrest Avenue, through the winding roads of the affluent neighborhood, then straight to Oakwood Elementary. They'd driven it hundreds of times. Marcus knew every stop sign, every speed bump, every crossing guard by name. Hey, Dad, why are there so many cars pulled over? Aisha pointed ahead as they turned onto Hillcrest Avenue. Sure enough, several vehicles were stopped along the side of the road, their hazard lights blinking. Marcus frowned, slowing down. Not sure, baby. Maybe an accident. But as they crept forward, he saw it wasn't an accident. A group of people in neon green vests had formed a human chain across the road, holding signs and chanting something he couldn't quite make out yet. Are those protesters? Aisha leaned forward, curious. Like the ones we learned about in social studies? The ones who marched with Dr. King. Looks like it, Marcus said, though something felt off. Protesters usually targeted government buildings or corporations, not residential streets at 7:45 in the morning. Let's see what's going on. As they approached, Marcus could read the signs. Save our neighborhood. Stop overdevelopment. Protect Hillcrest heritage. A blonde woman with a megaphone stood at the center, her voice carrying across the morning air. We will not let developers destroy our community. We will not let our children's future be paved over for profit. Marcus understood the sentiment. Unchecked development could destroy communities. But blocking the road during school drop-off time seemed like an odd tactic. He pulled up slowly, waiting for a gap in the chain like the other cars ahead of him were doing. That's when he noticed something strange. A white Toyota Prius 2 cars ahead was waved through after a brief conversation. Then a silver BMW. But the car directly in front of him, a beat-up Honda Civic driven by a Latina woman, was being held up, the protesters clustering around it. Dad, we're going to be late, Aisha said anxiously. The science fair starts at 8:30. Don't worry, baby. We'll make it. But Marcus felt a familiar tightness in his chest, The same feeling he got in certain stores when security followed him, or in certain neighborhoods when police cars slowed down to watch him. It was the radar every black person developed, the early warning system that said, something's not right here. The Honda finally got through, though Marcus noticed the driver looked frustrated and upset. Now it was his turn. He rolled down his window, putting on his friendliest smile. "Morning, folks. Just trying to get my daughter to school." The blonde woman with the megaphone. Her vest had Jessica Winters, organizer, printed on it, approached his truck. Her smile was tight, professional, not reaching her eyes. "Sir, this is a peaceful protest. You'll need to turn around and find another route. I understand, but this is the only road to Oakwood Elementary. My daughter has a science fair presentation this morning. If we could just—" I said, "You need to turn around." Jessica's voice hardened. She gestured to others, and suddenly Marcus's truck was surrounded by protesters. "We're not letting anyone through who doesn't belong in this neighborhood." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus kept his voice calm, aware that Aisha was watching, learning how to handle conflict. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to take my daughter to school, the same as those other parents you let through." Those residents showed proper identification, Jessica said, though Marcus had seen no ID checks. "If you live in Hillcrest, you can show your driver's license with a Hillcrest address. We don't live in Hillcrest. We live in Laurel District. But the school, then you'll have to find another way." Jessica stepped back, lifting her megaphone. "Hold the line. Don't let outsiders disrupt our peaceful protest." The chanting grew louder. Marcus glanced in his rearview mirror. 3 more cars had pulled up behind him. He was trapped. "Dad!" Aisha's voice was small. "What's happening?" Marcus took a deep breath, drawing on every ounce of patience he developed in corporate boardrooms and hostile coding environments. "It's okay, baby girl. Sometimes adults disagree about things. We're going to work this out." But as he looked at the faces surrounding his truck, some curious, some hostile, all white, Marcus knew this wasn't about development or protecting the neighborhood. This was about something much older, much uglier, wearing a new mask. The perfect morning was about to become something else entirely. Marcus checked his dashboard clock, 7:52 a.m. 38 minutes until Aisha's presentation. The street behind him was now backed up with at least 7 cars, their drivers growing increasingly agitated. Some honked their horns. Others had gotten out to see what was happening. "Aria, find alternate routes to Oakwood Elementary," Marcus said quietly. The truck's display showed a map with red lines indicating blocked routes. "All alternate routes add minimum 25 minutes to journey time. Current arrival estimate, 8:47 a.m. Too late. Aisha would miss her presentation slot." No, Aisha whispered, her hands clutching her backpack straps. "Mrs. Chun said if we're late, we get disqualified." "I worked so hard, Dad." Marcus's jaw tightened. His daughter had spent 2 months on this project, staying up late to perfect her calculations, testing and retesting her filtration system. He'd watch her confidence bloom with each successful experiment. He wasn't about to let some self-appointed neighborhood gatekeepers destroy that. "We're not going to be late," he said firmly. "Let me handle this." He put the truck in park and stepped out, making sure to move slowly and keep his hands visible. 20 years of being a black man in America had taught him the choreography of non-threatening movement. Behind him, he heard Aisha's door open. "Stay in the truck, baby girl." "But Dad, please, lock the doors. I'll be right back." Marcus approached Jessica Winters, who was now directing other protesters to tighten their human chain. Up close, he could see she was probably in her early 40s, with the kind of aggressive wellness look that came from expensive yoga studios and juice cleanses. Her vest wasn't just hand-drawn. It was professionally printed, suggesting this wasn't a spontaneous gathering. "Ma'am," Marcus kept his voice level professional. "I understand you're passionate about your cause. I actually support responsible development too. But my 8-year-old daughter has a science fair presentation in 35 minutes that she's been working on for months. Surely we can find a compromise." Jessica's eyes flicked over him, taking in his pressed khakis, his company polo shirt with the TechFlow Solutions logo, his clean-shaven face and neat haircut. He could see her calculating, trying to place him in her mental hierarchy. "The compromise is that you turn around," she said. "This demonstration has been planned for weeks. We're not making exceptions." "Except you did," Marcus pointed out calmly. "I saw you let 3 cars through in the last 5 minutes. Those were residents. How do you know? You didn't check their IDs like you claimed." Jessica's face flushed. "Are you calling me a liar?" "I'm stating what I observed." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Look, let me show you something. This is my daughter's school enrollment. This is the only approved route to the school from our home. And this," he swiped to a photo, "is my daughter with her science project. She's 8 years old. You're really going to make her miss this?" For a moment, Jessica's expression softened. Then someone called out from the line, a man with a gray ponytail and his Save Hillcrest t-shirt. "Jess, don't let him intimidate you. That's what they do. They—" Marcus couldn't help but ask. Jessica's walls went back up. "Sir, you need to return to your vehicle. If you continue to be aggressive—" "Aggressive?" Marcus took a step back. "I'm standing here showing you pictures of my daughter. How is that aggressive? Your tone is hostile. Your body language is threatening." Jessica raised her megaphone. "I need backup here. We have an agitated individual." Suddenly, Marcus found himself surrounded by protesters. They weren't touching him. They knew better than that, but they formed a tight circle, camera phones out, recording. He could hear the narratives being crafted in real time. "He's getting in her face. Look how angry he is. Why won't he just leave?" Marcus raised his hands slowly, his voice steady despite his rising anger. "I'm not agitated. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm a father trying to take his daughter to school. If you really cared about your daughter, you wouldn't expose her to this," Jessica said, her voice carrying clearly for the cameras. A responsible parent would have left already. That hit Marcus like a slap. The implication that he was somehow a bad father for not immediately bowing to their demands, for standing up for his daughter's right to education. He thought of all the mornings he'd braided Aisha's hair, all the homework sessions, all the science experiments that had taken over their kitchen. "Daddy!" Marcus turned to see Aisha had gotten out of the truck despite his instructions. She was walking toward them, her science project notebook clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she said, her young voice cutting through the chanting. "Please let us through. I worked really hard on my project. It's about making clean water for people who don't have any. My mom died from cancer, and she always said we should help people, and that's what I'm trying to do, and if I don't present today, I can't enter the district fair in—" "Sweetheart, go back to the truck," Jessica said, her tone patronizing. "The adults are talking." "But you're not talking." Aisha's voice rose. "You're just being mean to my dad. He didn't do anything wrong." One of the protesters, a younger woman with purple hair, looked uncomfortable. "Jess, maybe we should. We stick to the plan." Jessica cut her off. "No exceptions, or everyone will want one." Marcus moved to Aisha, putting his arm around her shoulders. "Come on, baby. Let's go back to the truck." "But Dad, my project." "I know. We'll figure it out." As they turned to leave, Marcus heard Jessica speaking into her megaphone again. "This is what we're fighting against, people. Outsiders who think they can push US around, who refuse to respect our peaceful demonstration." Marcus stopped, turned back. Every lesson his mother had taught him about keeping his head down, about not making waves, about being twice as good and half as threatening, warred with the fury building in his chest. "Outsiders," he said, his voice carrying now. "I pay taxes in the city. My daughter is a straight-A student. I volunteer teaching coding to underprivileged kids. What exactly makes me an outsider? Say it. Go ahead. Tell all these cameras what really makes me an outsider in your eyes." Jessica's face went red. "This isn't about race." "I didn't say it was. But interesting that's where your mind went." The crowd stirred uncomfortably. Some of the protesters were exchanging glances, clearly unsure about the optics of what was happening. A white woman blocking a black father from taking his daughter to school wasn't the look their environmental movement wanted. "Look," a new voice said. An older black woman had gotten out of a car several vehicles back. She wore scrubs, clearly a healthcare worker trying to get to her job. "Y'all need to move. Some of us got places to be. This ain't the way to protest." "Ma'am, please return to your vehicle," Jessica said, but her authority was fragmenting. More drivers were getting out now. Marcus recognized some of them. Parents he'd seen at school events, workers from the local businesses. The carefully controlled narrative was slipping. "Marcus? Is that you?" A familiar voice called out. It was David Kim, one of Aisha's teachers, stuck 4 cars back. "Is Aisha okay?" "Mr. Kim." Aisha broke away from Marcus, running toward her teacher. "They won't let us through. I'm going to miss the science fair." David's face darkened. He was usually the most mild-mannered person Marcus knew, but now he looked genuinely angry. "Jessica, what the hell are you doing? These are our students." "David, you don't understand the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you're traumatizing children." David pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Principal Martinez. This is unacceptable." Everyone remained calm. Jessica's megaphone screeched with feedback. "We are conducting a legal, peaceful protest. Ain't nothing peaceful about making a little girl cry," the woman in scrubs said. She'd moved closer now, and Marcus could see her name tag. "Denise, RN. I got patients waiting on me, and this baby got a science project. You want to protest? Go chain yourself to City Hall." The human chain was wavering now. Some protesters stepped aside, creating gaps. Others held firm, looking to Jessica for guidance. Then they heard the sirens. 2 Oakland police cruisers were making their way through the backed-up traffic, lights flashing. Marcus felt his body tense automatically. Police involvement rarely made things better for black men, even when they were in the right. "Nobody called the police," Jessica said quickly, but she looked nervous now. "This is a peaceful demonstration." The lead cruiser's door opened, and Officer Chin stepped out. Marcus recognized him. He'd done community outreach at Aisha's school. Chin surveyed the scene with experienced eyes. The blocked road, the upset children, the mix of angry and confused citizens. "Morning, folks," Chin said calmly. "We've received multiple calls about a traffic obstruction. Who's in charge here?" "I am." Jessica stepped forward, tried to regain control. "We're conducting a peaceful protest against overdevelopment. Do you have a permit for blocking a public roadway?" Chun interrupted. "We don't need a permit to exercise our First Amendment rights. Actually, you do need a permit to block traffic." Chin's partner, a younger officer Marcus didn't recognize, was already on his radio calling for backup and traffic control, especially during school hours on a primary route to an elementary school. "Officer, this man was being aggressive." Jessica pointed at Marcus. "He refused to turn around and tried to intimidate me." Chin looked at Marcus, at Aisha still clutching her notebook, at David Kim holding up his school ID, at Denise in her scrubs with her arms crossed. "Mr. Thompson," Chun said, and Marcus was surprised he remembered his name. "Were you being aggressive?" "No, sir. I was trying to get my daughter to school for her science fair. I asked politely to be let through, like the other cars I saw pass. When they refused, I got out to try to reason with them." "He's lying," Jessica insisted. "Check the videos. Everyone was recording." "Great idea," Chun said. "Let's do that." He turned to the crowd. "Anyone who has video of the interaction, please don't delete it. We'll need those for our report." Marcus saw several protesters quickly lowering their phones, suddenly less eager to share their footage. "Here's what's going to happen," Chun announced. "This road needs to be cleared immediately. Anyone who doesn't move will be cited for unlawful obstruction. You have 2 minutes. This is oppression." Jessica shouted. "You're siding with them because they have a legal right to use this road, and you don't have a legal right to block it," Chun finished. 1 minute 45 seconds. The human chain dissolved quickly. Most protesters moved to the sidewalk, some still holding their signs, but looking uncertain. Jessica stood her ground until the last second, glaring at Marcus like he'd personally orchestrated this defeat. "You think you won," she hissed as she passed him. "But we know what you're really about. We'll be watching." Marcus didn't respond. He was already heading back to the truck, where Aisha waited, checking the time. 8:11 morgens. If they hurried, they could still make it. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" Aisha asked as he started the engine. "We're going to be fine, baby girl. Buckle up. We've got a science fair to win." As they drove through the now clear road, Marcus caught a glimpse of Jessica in his rearview mirror. She was on her phone, gesticulating wildly, probably already spinning the story for social media. He had a feeling this wasn't over. But right now, none of that mattered. His daughter had a presentation to give, and nothing, not protesters, not profiling, not even his own anger, was going to stop him from getting her there. They pulled into Oakwood Elementary at 8:27 a.m., 3 minutes to spare. As Aisha grabbed her project from the truck bed, she paused. "Dad, why did that lady think you were dangerous?" Marcus knelt down to her level, choosing his words carefully. "Sometimes, baby girl, people see what they expect to see instead of what's really there. But you know what? That's why your science project is so important. Science is about looking for the truth, testing it, proving it. Just like you're going to do today." Aisha nodded solemnly, then threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby. Now I'll go show them how water filtration works." As he watched her run into the school, project carefully balanced in her arms, Marcus pulled out his phone. He had some calls to make, some research to do, because something told him Jessica Winters and her group weren't done with him. And if they wanted to fight, well, they'd picked the wrong father to mess with. Marcus sat in the school parking lot for 20 minutes after dropping Aisha off, his hands gripping the steering wheel as he processed what had just happened. His phone buzzed with notifications. Emails from clients could wait, but one caught his eye. Chen had forwarded him something from his company's Slack channel. "Yo, did anyone else see that video of Marcus going off on some protesters? Wild stuff." Video? Marcus's stomach dropped. He opened Twitter, a platform he rarely used except for tech announcements, and search his name. There was already at 500 retweets and climbing. Angry black man threatens peaceful environmental protesters. The video was expertly edited. It showed him stepping out of his truck with what looked like aggressive body language. They'd cut out the part where he'd moved slowly and carefully. It jumped to him surrounded by protesters, his voice raised, missing the context of Jessica calling him aggressive first. It showed Aisha crying, but framed as if he'd caused her distress rather than the protesters. The comments were a cesspool. Typical. They always resort to intimidation. Poor woman was just trying to save the environment, and he made it about race. Anyone know where he works? His employer should see this. That little girl deserves a better father figure. That last one made Marcus's vision blur with rage. He forced himself to take deep breaths, the technique his therapist had taught him after Aria's death. Count to 10. Release. Count to 10. Release. His phone rang. Chun, his business partner. "Marcus, what the hell happened? I'm getting calls from investors asking if we have a PR problem." "It's a long story," Marcus said, his voice hoarse. "Some protesters blocked the road to Aisha's school. They wouldn't let us through. I tried to reason with them." "The video makes it look like you were about to throw hands." "Of course it does." Marcus laughed bitterly. "That's the point. They surrounded me with cameras, hoping to get exactly this footage. Okay, we need to get ahead of this. Document everything. Save any unedited footage you can find. I'll call our lawyer." "I can't believe this is happening," Marcus said. "All I did was try to take my daughter to school." "I know, brother. We'll figure it out." How did Aisha's presentation go? Marcus realized he didn't even know. He'd been so focused on the confrontation's aftermath that he hadn't thought to ask. I need to go. I'll call you back." He walked into the school, where the science fair was in full swing in the gymnasium. Parents milled around, examining projects, but Marcus noticed the looks, the whispers, phones being checked, and eyes darting his way. "Mr. Thompson," Principal Martinez approached him, her expression carefully neutral. "Could I speak with you for a moment?" Marcus's heart sank. "Is Aisha okay?" "She's fine. She's presenting right now, actually. But we've been receiving some concerning calls about an incident this morning." "Principal Martinez, I can explain. I'm sure you can. And I want to hear your side. But several parents have expressed concerns about your behavior. They're saying you were violent toward peaceful protesters." "I wasn't violent. I was trying to get Aisha to school. They wouldn't let us through, even though they let white parents pass. I got out to talk to them, and they surrounded me with cameras." Principal Martinez nodded slowly. "I've known you for 3 years, Mr. Thompson. You've never been anything but supportive and involved. But this video is edited, manipulated. They call me aggressive for existing. They made my daughter cry and then accused me of being a bad father for not immediately leaving. Dad. Both adults turned to see Aisha running toward them, a blue ribbon in her hand. First place. Despite everything, she'd won. Dad, I did it. The judges loved the UV light component. They said it was innovative for my age group, and she stopped, noticing the principal's serious expression. What's wrong? Nothing, baby girl. I'm so proud of you. Marcus lifted her up in a hug, fighting back tears. His daughter had triumphed despite the morning's trauma. First place. That's my brilliant scientist. Mr. Thompson, Principal Martinez said quietly, we should continue this conversation later. Enjoy this moment with your daughter. But the moment was already tainted. Marcus could feel the eyes on them, hear the whispers. One parent actually pulled their child away when they got too close. The video had been live for less than an hour, and already he was being transformed from devoted father to dangerous threat. Dad, why is everyone looking at us weird? Aisha asked as they walked to examine her project display. Don't worry about them. Tell me about the judge's questions. Aisha launched into a detailed explanation of her presentation, her natural enthusiasm pushing through the morning stress. But Marcus noticed her voice getting quieter as more parents stared. His brilliant, confident daughter was shrinking under their judgment. His phone vibrated constantly. Texts from friends who'd seen the video. Calls from unknown numbers, probably reporters. An email from HR at one of his client companies asking him to discuss the situation. Can we go home? Aisha asked quietly after they'd taken pictures with her project. I don't like how everyone's looking at you. Yeah, baby. Let's go. As they gathered her project, Mrs. Chun, Aisha's teacher, approached. Mr. Thompson, I wanted you to know, I saw what really happened this morning. David told me everything. Those protesters were completely out of line. Thank you. Marcus said, grateful for any ally. But the video is garbage. I've already talked to several parents who were there. We know the truth. She knelt down to Aisha's level. You did amazing today, sweetie. Don't let anyone take that away from you. In the truck, Aisha was quiet for several minutes before asking, Dad, are we in trouble? No, baby. We didn't do anything wrong. Then why is everyone acting like we did? Marcus struggled to find the right words. How did you explain to an 8-year-old that sometimes the truth didn't matter? That being black meant constantly having to prove you weren't a threat? That an edited video could override years of being a good parent, a good neighbor, a good citizen? Sometimes people believe what they want to believe, he said finally. But we know the truth. And we have friends who know the truth. That's what matters. His phone rang. Olivia, his lawyer friend from college. Marcus, I saw the video. Please tell me you got your own footage. I didn't think to record. I was trying to de-escalate. Of course you were. Olivia sighed. Okay, don't talk to any reporters. Don't respond to any comments online. Document everything you remember while it's fresh. And Marcus? That woman, Jessica Winters? I did some quick research. This isn't her first rodeo. What do you mean? She's been involved in several protest actions that specifically targeted black and brown families. Always with plausible deniability. Always framed as environmental or neighborhood protection. But there's a pattern. Marcus felt his grip tighten on the phone. So this was planned? They specifically wanted to provoke us. I can't prove it yet. But yeah, I think you were targeted. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Marcus looked at Aisha in the rearview mirror. She was holding her first-place ribbon, but staring out the window, her joy from winning already fading. Whatever it takes to protect my daughter, he said. Whatever it takes. By evening, the video had exploded. 50,000 views. 5,000 shares. 3 different edits, each more inflammatory than the last. One version added ominous music when Marcus stepped out of his truck. Another zoomed in on his face, freezing frames to make normal expressions look menacing. The most viral version included commentary from someone claiming to be a body language expert, analyzing his aggressive stance and threatening demeanor. Marcus sat at his home office desk, Aisha thankfully distracted by cartoons in the living room. as he watched his character assassination in real time. His mentions were a horror show. This is why we need to protect our communities. That poor woman was terrified. Someone check if he has a record. I'd be scared too if he approached me like that. His employer is at TechFlow Solutions. They need to know they have a violent thug on payroll. That last one made him close his laptop. Violent thug. For trying to take his daughter to school. His phone rang. Again. Marcus, we have a problem. Goldman Tech is threatening to pull their contract. They're saying the optics are bad. The optics. Marcus laughed bitterly. I'm about to lose a six-figure contract because of optics? I'm fighting it, but they're spooked. The video is on Reddit now. Someone doxed you. They posted our office address. I've got security coming tomorrow, just in case. This is insane. Marcus rubbed his temples. 4 hours ago, I was just a dad taking his kid to school. I know. Look, take tomorrow off. Work from home. Let me handle the clients. We'll weather this. After Chun hung up, Marcus opened his laptop again. He needed to understand who he was dealing with. Time to put his tech skills to use. Jessica Winters had quite the digital footprint. Environmental activist. HOA board member. Real estate consultant. That was interesting. Her LinkedIn showed a pattern of involvement in neighborhood groups across Oakland, always in areas experiencing demographic shifts. Her Facebook was public, full of posts about preserving neighborhood character and maintaining community standards. But it was the deeper dive that revealed the pattern. Using public records and social media cross-referencing, Marcus found at least 6 incidents over 3 years where Jessica's protests had specifically impacted families of color. A block party permit denied to a black church after she raised noise concerns. A community garden shut down after she claimed health code violations. The gardeners were mostly Latino families. A youth basketball court removed after she petitioned about safety issues. 3 small businesses, all minority-owned, cited for violations after she organized community walkthroughs. Each incident, taken alone, seemed reasonable. Together, they painted a clear picture. Dad, Aisha stood in the doorway, her science fair ribbon in her hand. Are you okay? Hey, baby girl. I'm Fina. You should be in bed. I can't sleep. She padded over in her pajamas, climbing onto his lap. Lucy's mom texted my tablet. She said Lucy can't come to my birthday party anymore. Marcus's heart broke. Aisha's birthday was in 2 weeks. They've been planning a science-themed party for months. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. No, she said you're too dangerous. She saw a video. Aisha's eyes filled with tears. Dad, what video? What do we do wrong? Marcus held his daughter close, rage and helplessness warring in his chest. They made his baby girl cry twice in one day. Listen to me, he said firmly. We didn't do anything wrong. Some people took a video of this morning and changed it to tell a lie. But lies don't last, baby. The truth always wins in the end. Like in science? Aisha asked. Like how people used to think the earth was flat, but then evidence proved it was round. Exactly like that. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Now, how about we have some celebration ice cream for your first place win? Science fair champions deserve ice cream. They got a small smile. As he scooped chocolate chip cookie dough into bowls, their favorite, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is just the beginning. An asterisk, 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 S don't belong in our schools. Watch your back. Marcus deleted it immediately, not wanting Aisha to accidentally see it. But his hands shook as he carried the bowls to the living room. The video had given every racist in the Bay Area permission to show their true colors. They were halfway through their ice cream when the doorbell rang. Marcus tensed, then relaxed when he saw through the peephole it was Mrs. Kim from next door. Marcus, I'm so sorry to bother you, she said when he opened the door. She held a casserole dish. I saw the video. It's complete nonsense. I was 3 cars behind you this morning. I saw everything. Thank you, Mrs. Kim. Would you be willing to say that publicly? Already did. She smiled. I posted my own video, the real one, from my dash cam. It shows you being perfectly polite while that woman escalated everything. Marcus felt a spark of hope. You have dash cam footage? Crystal clear. Shows them letting white families through, then surrounding your truck. Shows you trying to talk calmly while they called for backup. My grandson helped me upload it to the Twitter. Same website, right? For the first time all day, Marcus felt like laughing. Yes, Mrs. Kim. Same website. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's what neighbors do, she said firmly. That woman, she doesn't speak for Oakland. Most of us know better. After Mrs. Kim left, Marcus checked Twitter. Her video was there, tagged with hashtag The Real Story. It had a few hundred views, nothing compared to the edited version, but it was a start. The footage was exactly as she described. Clear evidence of discrimination, of escalation, of him trying desperately to reason with unreasonable people. Other videos began surfacing. David Kim had posted his perspective. A parent stuck in traffic had captured Jessica, specifically saying outsiders who don't belong. Someone had even recorded the police interaction, showing Officer Chin's professional handling of the situation. But for every supportive video, 3 more attack posts appeared. Jessica Winters had released a statement through a PR firm. When had she hired a PR firm? Claiming she feared for her life and was exploring legal options against Marcus for intimidation and threatening behavior. Dad, you're squishing the remote, Aisha said. Marcus looked down. He'd grabbed the TV remote without realizing it, his knuckles white with tension. He set it down carefully. Sorry, baby. Just thinking. About the mean lady? Yeah. I think she's scared, Aisha said matter-of-factly, returning to her ice cream. Scared of what? Of us. Of people who don't look like her. That's what fear does, right? Makes people act mean. Out of the mouths of babes. Marcus hugged his daughter, marveling at her wisdom. You're absolutely right. Fear makes people do terrible things. His laptop chimed. A news alert. Local CBS affiliate. Road rage or racial profiling. Viral video sparks debate. They made the evening news. Marcus turned off the TV before Aisha could see. Bedtime for real now, young lady. School tomorrow. Are the protesters going to be there again? I don't know. But whatever happens, we'll handle it together. Okay. Dad, I love you. I love you too, baby girl. More than all the stars in the sky. After tucking Aisha in, Marcus returned to his office. The news segment was online now. They'd interviewed Jessica, who sat in a well-appointed living room looking fragile and victimized. They'd used the worst screenshots of him from the edited video. The debate format included a community activist defending him and a neighborhood safety expert suggesting he'd shown classic signs of aggression. His email was a disaster. 2 more clients expressing concerns. A death threat forwarded by Chun from the company inbox. 3 interview requests from reporters. And one that made him pause. Mr. Thompson, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I was one of the parents let through the blockade this morning. I've been sick to my stomach all day about what I witnessed. The way they treated you versus me was night and day. I have video from my Tesla's cameras that I think you need to see. Can we talk? Marcus typed back quickly. Yes. When and where? The response was immediate. Tonight, if possible. This is bigger than just this morning. I've been documenting things in Hillcrest for months. Jessica Winters isn't just a random protester. She's part of something organized. Marcus looked at the clock. 9:47 p.m. Aisha was asleep. Mrs. Kim would watch her for an hour. Coffee shop on Grand Avenue? 10:30. I'll be there. And Mr. Thompson? Be careful. Outlets. The Mutual Aid Committee had raised $10,000 for affected families. We need to talk about safety, said Jerome Washington, the retired cop. These people are escalating. Everyone needs to download drive-through, travel in groups when possible, and document everything. I've been getting death threats, David Kim admitted. Calls to my house at night. Me too, several others chimed in. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility. His stand had inspired others, but it had also made them targets. I'm upgrading drive-through, he announced. New features. Panic button that alerts all nearby allies, automatic recording of threatening calls, integration with Ring doorbells and security cameras. We're going to make ourselves untouchable. What about our kids? Maria asked. My daughter's scared to go to school. Kids' self-defense classes, suggested Destiny. Emotional support groups. We protect their bodies and minds. As plans solidified, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced since Aria's death. community. Not just neighbors, but family forged in struggle. Sarah approached him after the meeting. Jessica's group is meeting tomorrow night. Emergency session about the FBI investigation. Someone inside is recording for us. Good. Let them panic. Marcus, thank you for letting me help, for not shutting me out because of what I was part of. Redemption is always possible, Marcus said. You chose to stand up. That matters. Driving home, Aisha was quiet before asking, Dad, are we winning? Marcus thought about it. The blockades continued. The threats persisted. But something fundamental had shifted. You know what winning looks like, baby girl? It's Mrs. Gonzalez getting to work on time. It's Mr. Kim fighting to get his job back with the union's help. It's all these families refusing to be scared anymore. Yeah, I think we're winning. Good, Aisha said firmly. Because I have an idea for the app. What if kids could report bullying at school the same way? Make everything recorded and safe. Marcus smiled. His daughter was thinking beyond their own struggle to systemic change. That's brilliant. Want to help me co-ed this weekend? Yes. Can Lucy help? Her mom says she's really sorry and wants to support us now. Of course. The more people fighting for justice, the better. As they pulled into their driveway, Marcus noticed something new, a small sign in Mrs. Kim's yard. Protected by drive-through. Hate has no home here. Similar signs dotted the street. His neighbors, Korean, Black, Latino, white, united in declaring their block a safe zone. Jessica Winters and her group had tried to divide and conquer. Instead, they created a coalition that crossed every line they'd tried to draw. The war was far from over, but for the first time, Marcus knew they wouldn't face it alone. Saturday morning dawned crisp and clear, perfect weather for what the media was already calling the drive for justice. Marcus stood in the parking lot of Lakeview Community Center, watching as cars gathered for the rolling protest. 50 vehicles and counting, each decorated with signs. Education is a right, safe passage for all, honk against hate. Dad, can I put the banner on our truck? Aisha asked, holding up the sign she'd made. My dad is a hero, not a threat. Of course, baby girl. Marcus helped her attach it to the side of the truck, his heart swelling with pride and worry. He tried to convince her to stay home with Mrs. Kim, but Aisha had insisted, this is my fight too. Maria Gonzalez pulled up in her sedan, windows painted with healthcare worker for safe streets. She gave Marcus a thumbs up. Behind her, David Kim arrived with a carload of teacher colleagues who'd taken personal days to support him. 112 vehicles confirmed, Chin reported, checking his tablet. Media is set up at 3 points along the route. Legal observers at every intersection. Drive-through showing all clear so far. Olivia approached with last-minute instructions. Remember, this is a peaceful, legal procession. We have all permits. Stay in vehicles unless there's an emergency. Document everything. If they try to stop us, do not engage physically. Let legal handle it. Marcus, Sarah Mitchell jogged over, looking panicked. I just got intel. Jessica's group knows about the route. They're mobilizing a counteraction. Something about defending their streets from invasion. Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but kept his voice calm. Then we stick to the plan. Peace, documentation, and unity. That's how we win. The plan was simple but powerful. A convoy of affected families driving the routes they'd been blocked from, exercising their legal right to public roads. No blocking traffic, no confrontation, just visible, organized presence. Listen up. Jerome Washington, the retired cop, commanded attention. Safety briefing. Stay in communication via drive-through. Keep 2 car lengths between vehicles. If someone tries to block you, stop, document, wait for support. Do not exit vehicles unless instructed by legal team. Remember, we're not just representing ourselves, but everyone who's been silenced. As the convoy prepared to roll out, more vehicles arrived. Marcus was stunned to see a group of Hillcrest parents he recognized. People who'd been silent during the blockades, but were now displaying Hillcrest residents against hate signs. Mr. Thompson, one approached nervously. I'm embarrassed it took us this long to stand up. But we're here now. The convoy began moving at 9 a.m. sharp, a peaceful procession of families asserting their rights. Marcus drove near the front, Aisha beside him controlling the drive-through app on her tablet, updating their position and status. Looking good, Dad. Lots of green dots showing ally positions. Oh, wait. Her face changed. Red alert at Hillcrest in Maine. Large group gathering. Sure enough, as they approached the intersection where it all began, they found Jessica Winters and about 30 protesters in their neon vests. But this time they'd added new accessories. American flags and signs reading "Defend Our Heritage" and "Safety Before Integration." They really went full mask off, Chin muttered over the radio. The counter-protesters had formed a human chain across the road, the exact tactic they'd used before. But this time, the convoy was prepared. The lead car stopped well back, and Jerome's voice came over the app. Full stop. Begin documentation. Legal team approaching. 3 legal observers in bright yellow vests walked forward with cameras, while the convoy waited patiently. Jessica spotted them and began shouting into her megaphone. These outside agitators are trying to destroy our community. They bring crime. They bring violence. They threaten our children's safety. Marcus kept his hands visible on the steering wheel, aware that dozens of cameras were rolling. But Aisha was getting agitated. She's lying, Dad. We're not violent. You're the safest person I know. I know, baby. But we stay calm. That's how we show who's really threatening who. The legal observers documented the blockade, while Jessica's group began chanting. Our streets. Our rules. Some of her protesters looked uncomfortable with the explicitly exclusionary message, but peer pressure kept them in line. Then something unexpected happened. From the opposite direction, another group of vehicles appeared, Hillcrest residents who'd coordinated with parents for safe passage. They began honking and displaying signs. Jessica doesn't speak for us, and Hillcrest welcomes all families. Caught between 2 groups, Jessica's blockade began to waver. Some protesters stepped aside, creating gaps. Others doubled down, sitting in the road. This is an illegal assembly. Officer Chin's voice came over a loudspeaker. He'd arrived with several patrol cars. You're blocking a public roadway without a permit. Disperse immediately or face arrest. You're supposed to be on our side. Jessica screamed at the police. These people are the threat. Ma'am, the only crime being committed here is obstruction of traffic. You have 1 minute to clear the road. Most protesters scrambled to the sidewalk, but Jessica and 5 others sat down, linking arms. Marcus recognized the performance. They wanted to be arrested to play martyrs. But Officer Chun had seen the same playbook. Your choice, Chun said calmly. He nodded to other officers who began the arrest process, carefully and professionally, while legal observers documented everything. As Jessica was led away in handcuffs, she locked eyes with Marcus and mouthed, "This isn't over." The convoy proceeded through the now-clear intersection, honking in celebration. But at the next major intersection, they found a new obstacle. Someone had spread industrial-grade tire spikes across the road. Full stop. Jerome's voice barked over the radio. Do not proceed. Hazard in road. Marcus felt his anger spike. This was beyond protest. This was endangerment. If someone had hit those spikes at speed, Dad, I'm scared, Aisha admitted quietly. It's okay to be scared, Marcus said, pulling her close. But watch what happens next. Within minutes, the drive-through app lit up. Allies converging from all directions. City maintenance crews, alerted by supporters, arriving to clear the spikes. Media capturing everything. The attempted sabotage backfiring spectacularly. Marcus, you need to see this, Sarah called, jogging to his truck. She showed him her phone, a live stream from inside Jessica's organization. Someone was broadcasting their emergency meeting. Completely backfired. We look like the aggressors now, a voice said. Then we escalate, another responded. Target Thompson directly. His home, his business, his kids' school. Are you insane? We're already facing federal investigation. Then we better make sure there's no one left to testify. The live stream cut off. Sarah's face was pale. Marcus, that sounded like a threat. Yeah. Marcus saved the video. Send that to Olivia and the FBI immediately. The convoy continued, growing as more supporters joined. By the time they reached Oakwood Elementary, the symbolic endpoint, over 200 vehicles participated. Parents and children cheered from the sidewalks. Principal Martinez stood at the school entrance, applauding. Mr. Thompson. Media surrounded his truck as he parked. How does it feel to have sparked this movement? Marcus lifted Aisha onto his shoulders before answering. This isn't about me. It's about every family's right to education without intimidation. It's about communities standing together against hate. And it's about showing our children that justice is possible when good people refuse to be silent. Aisha, what would you like to say? A reporter asked. His daughter grabbed the microphone with confidence that amazed him. Some grown-ups try to make my dad look mean because of his skin color. But look around. Do you see all these people? All different colors. All here together? That's what scares bullies. When we stand together, they can't win. The crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus hugged his daughter tight, tears in his eyes, out of the mouths of babes. Later, at the celebration gathering in the community center, the full scope of their victory became clear. The convoy had proceeded without major incident. Jessica's group was in disarray, facing arrests and federal investigation. Most importantly, families felt empowered. 3 news vans at my blockade site this morning, Maria reported. The protesters took one look and left. They can't operate under scrutiny. District called about my job, David added, grinning. Union pressure worked. I'm reinstated Monday with back pay. Story after story of small victories. The movement was working, but Marcus couldn't shake the memory of that threatening live stream. As the celebration continued, he pulled Olivia aside. We need to talk about security. Real security. They're getting desperate. Olivia nodded grimly. FBI is taking the threats seriously. They want to assign protection. No. Marcus shook his head. We protect ourselves. Community watches, security systems, buddy systems. We don't give them a narrative of hiding behind federal agents. Then we do it smart, Olivia agreed. Jerome's already working on plans. As the sun set on their day of victory, Marcus stood outside with Aisha, watching families head home with smiles and hope. Dad, we really did it, didn't we? We made a good start, baby girl. But the real victory is all these people who aren't afraid anymore. Jessica looked so mad when they arrested her. Aisha giggled, like when Bobby Jenkins gets caught cheating on tests. Marcus laughed. That's exactly what she looked like. His phone buzzed. An unknown number, but he recognized the area code, Washington, D.C. Mr. Thompson? This is Special Agent Williams with the FBI Civil Rights Division. We've reviewed your evidence. We'd like to meet Monday morning. This case has national implications now. National implications. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the community center full of brave families, at the signs of unity and resistance. What had started as one father trying to get his child to school had become something neither he nor Jessica Winters had anticipated. We'll be there, Marcus told the agent. As they drove home, past protected by drive-through signs and chalk messages of support on sidewalks, Marcus realized the truth. They hadn't just won a battle. They'd started a revolution, and it was only beginning. Monday morning found Marcus in a federal building in downtown Oakland, sitting across from FBI Special Agents Williams and Chun. No relation to Officer Chun, as she clarified. The conference room was sterile and imposing, but Marcus felt oddly calm. He brought 3 boxes of evidence, all meticulously organized by date and incident. Mr. Thompson, Agent Williams began, her voice professional but warm. What you've uncovered goes far beyond local harassment. We're seeing similar patterns in 12 cities across 5 states. Agent Shin pulled up a presentation showing a map dotted with red pins. Same playbook everywhere. Environmental or safety concerns as cover, targeting families of color, connections to real estate development. Your documentation helped us connect dots we've been trying to link for 2 years. So, this is coordinated? Marcus asked, though he'd suspected as much. Highly coordinated. We've identified shell companies, training seminars, even a handbook for community activism that's essentially a guide for discrimination with plausible deniability. Williams showed him a document titled Preserving Community Standards, a strategic guide. Marcus recognized some of the tactics described. This is what they did to us, word for word in some cases, which is why your evidence is crucial. The videos, the financial documents, the recorded conversations, especially that threat from their emergency meeting. Chen's expression hardened. We take threats against witnesses very seriously. I don't want special protection, Marcus said firmly. These people thrive on making us look like we need saving. We're protecting ourselves. Williams nodded approvingly. Understood, but we'd like to coordinate with your security efforts. And Mr. Thompson, we need to discuss something sensitive. We have evidence that some local law enforcement may be compromised. Marcus wasn't surprised. Jessica mentioned having connections. It goes deeper. Some officers have been attending these community standard meetings off-duty, sharing information about which families to target. We're working with internal affairs, but I wanted you to be aware. They spent 3 hours going through evidence, with the agents asking detailed questions about every incident. Marcus learned that Pinnacle Development Group was just one tentacle of a larger operation with ties to national extremist organizations. What happens next? Marcus asked as they wrapped up. Grand jury, Williams said. We're building a RICO case. Racketeering, conspiracy to violate civil rights, interstate commerce violations. With your evidence and testimony, we can take down the entire network. How long? These things take time. Months, maybe a year for trial. But we can get injunctions to stop the harassment immediately. As Marcus left the federal building, his phone buzzed with messages. The convoy success had inspired similar actions in other cities. Hashtag Drive for Justice was trending nationally. But it was Aisha's text that made him smile. Killed my spelling test. Mrs. Chun says I'm brave like you. Love you, Dad. He drove to TechFlow's office, where Chun waited with coffee and concerns. 3 more clients asking about the controversy, Chun reported. But here's the interesting part. 2 new clients specifically want to work with us because of your stand. Apparently, corporate social responsibility is in. It shouldn't take me being harassed for companies to care about justice, Marcus said wearily. No, it shouldn't. But I'll take allies where we can get them. Speaking of which, check this out. Chun pulled up drive-throughs analytics. 50,000 active users. We're getting requests from Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle. This could be bigger than anything we've built. Marcus stared at the numbers. We need to scale carefully. Open source parts of it so local developers can customize for their communities. This can't be about profit. Agreed. But Marcus, maintaining servers for 50,000 users isn't free. Maybe we accept donations? Grants? There are foundations that would fund this. They spent the afternoon planning drive-throughs expansion while managing client work. It felt surreal, coding authentication systems while his phone buzzed with FBI updates and community organizing messages. That evening, Marcus arrived home to find his front yard full of people. His heart raced until he recognized them. Parents for Safe Passage members installing security cameras and motion sensor lights. Surprise! Maria called out. Community installation party. Jerome designed a neighborhood watch system that integrates with drive-through. Mrs. Kim supervised from her porch, directing camera angles with military precision. Cover all approaches. These racists like sneaking around in the dark. Aisha ran out with a tray of lemonade she'd made. Dad, look, Mr. Johnson is teaching me about electrical circuits while he installs the cameras. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the support. Neighbors he'd barely spoken to before were drilling holes and running cables, transforming his vulnerable home into a connected fortress. Every house on the block will have coverage, Jerome explained, showing Marcus the setup. Motion alerts go to all participating neighbors. Any suspicious activity gets recorded from multiple angles. We're calling it the Community Shield Network. This is incredible, Marcus said. But it must have cost. Mutual Aid Fund covered it, Destiny interrupted. Plus, Johnson Electric donated equipment, and my cousin gave us the family discount on installation. This is what community looks like. As the sun set, the installation party became a block party. Someone brought a grill. Music played. Children ran between yards. It was a powerful counter-narrative to the fear Jessica's group had tried to sow. Sarah Mitchell arrived with urgent news. Marcus, I need to show you something privately. They stepped into his home office where Sarah pulled out her laptop. I still have access to some of their private forums. Look at this. The screen showed a message board titled Strategic Retreat and Regroup. Post discussed moving operations underground, using encrypted communications, targeting through legitimate channels like HOA violations and city complaints. One post made Marcus's blood run cold. Thompson thinks he's won, but we know where his daughter goes to school, where he shops, where his clients are. We don't need blockades when we have other pressure points. They're not giving up, Sarah said. They're adapting. Marcus screenshotted everything. Neither are we. Forward all of this to Agent Williams. His phone rang. Olivia. Marcus, I just got word. The grand jury wants to hear your testimony next week. Also, Jessica Winters posted bail. She's already on social media, claiming she's a political prisoner. Marcus pulled up Jessica's page. She'd rebranded herself as a defender of traditional communities and was soliciting donations for her legal persecution. The comments were a mix of support from extremists and condemnation from locals who'd seen the real videos. Let her talk, Marcus said. Every post is more evidence. Later that night, after the party ended and Aisha was asleep, Marcus sat on his porch with Jerome and Shun. The new security cameras blinked reassuringly in the darkness. You know they'll come at you harder now, Jerome said. Cornered animals are the most dangerous. I know, but look what we've built. Marcus gestured to the connected homes, the community network visible through drive-through. They wanted to isolate us. Instead, they unified us. The FBI stuff worries me, Chin admitted. RICO cases mean serious people with serious resources might be involved. All the more reason to stay vigilant, Jerome said, but not paranoid. We live our lives, protect each other, and let justice take its course. As they talked, a car drove slowly down the street. The new cameras tracked it automatically, multiple angles capturing the license plate. The driver, seeing the obvious surveillance, sped up and left. See, Jerome grinned. System works. Marcus's phone buzzed with a drive-through alert. Someone had marked a suspicious vehicle near Oakwood Elementary. Within seconds, 3 parents responded that they were nearby and checking it out. The vehicle left before they arrived. We're not victims anymore, Marcus realized. We're a network, a community, a force they didn't expect. The next morning brought unexpected news. Channel 7's investigative team had published a bombshell report. Using Marcus's evidence and their own investigation, they'd exposed financial connections between Pinnacle Development, several city council members, and a national organization promoting demographic preservation. The story went national within hours. #PinnacleGate began trending. City Hall was surrounded by protesters demanding investigations. 3 council members announced they were stepping back from duties pending review. Marcus watched the news with mixed feelings. Victory, but at what cost? His daughter still asked why some people hated them. Families had lost jobs and peace of mind. The trauma wouldn't disappear with arrests and investigations. Dad, you're on TV again. Aisha called out. The screen showed footage from the convoy, focusing on Aisha's speech about unity, defeating bullies. The reporter called her the young voice of a movement. Do you understand what you started? Marcus asked his daughter. We didn't start anything, Aisha said wisely. The mean people started it. We just finished it, right? Still finishing it, baby girl. But yeah, we're winning. His phone rang. Agent Williams. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're executing search warrants tomorrow morning. Multiple locations. It's going to be big news. You might want to avoid the Hillcrest area. Will Jessica be arrested again? I can't comment on specific targets. But let's just say some people should have destroyed their hard drives better. Your tech expertise in preserving digital evidence has been invaluable. After the call, Marcus sat with Aisha to do homework. Normal dad stuff in the middle of extraordinary circumstances. She was working on a report about civil rights heroes. Dad, can I write about you? She asked. I'm not a hero, baby. I'm just a dad who loves you. That's what heroes do, though. They protect people they love. And now you're protecting lots of people. Marcus hugged her tight. Then write about all of us. Every parent who stood up. Every neighbor who helped. Heroes don't work alone. As Aisha wrote, Marcus reflected on how much had changed in just weeks. From a blocked road to a federal investigation. From isolation to community. From fear to power. His laptop showed Drive-Thru's latest stats, 75,000 users. Community Shield networks in 15 neighborhoods. Hundreds of incidents documented. Dozens of families protected. But the real victory was simpler. Tomorrow, he'd drive Aisha to school without fear. She'd present her civil rights report with pride. They'd live their lives freely. The investigation was just beginning, but the transformation was already complete. They'd turned targeted harassment into collective resistance, individual fear into community strength. And somewhere, Jessica Winters was learning what happened when you mistook kindness for weakness, when you pushed good people too far. Justice was coming, but victory had already arrived. The raids began at 6 a.m. Tuesday morning. Marcus watched the news with his coffee as federal agents swept through Hillcrest and other Oakland neighborhoods. Aerial footage showed agents carrying boxes from Jessica Winters' house while she stood in her driveway in a bathrobe, gesticulating wildly at cameras. "Dad, is that the mean lady's house?" Aisha asked, eating her cereal. "Yes, baby. The FBI is collecting evidence of all the bad things she did." "Good. Maybe now she'll leave families alone." Marcus's phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters wanted comments. Community members shared updates. The Parents for Safe Passage group chat exploded with celebration and caution. Victory was sweet, but they knew the work wasn't done. By 8 a.m., the scope became clear. 17 locations raided, 12 arrests, computers, documents, and financial records seized. The Channel 7 investigative team was having a field day, their reporters stationed at multiple scenes. "Marcus, you seeing this?" Chen called. "They just arrested 2 city council members. This is huge." It was huge. But Marcus kept thinking about the threatening message board post Sarah had shown him. Cornered animals and all that. After dropping Aisha at school, a peaceful drive with no blockades, Marcus headed to an emergency Parents for Safe Passage meeting. The community center buzzed with energy and concern. "We need to talk about what happens next," Maria said, taking charge. "The arrests are good, but there are still sympathizers out there. Still people who think we're the problem." Jerome nodded. "Security protocols stay in place. Maybe even enhanced. These groups have tentacles." Sarah Mitchell stood up, looking exhausted but determined. "I've been monitoring their backup communication channels. They're regrouping, talking about legal resistance now, using courts, filing complaints, bureaucratic warfare." "Then we need to be ready," Olivia said. "I'm coordinating with other civil rights attorneys. We're creating a rapid response legal team." The meeting continued for hours, planning for various contingencies. Marcus found himself appointed to the tech committee, tasked with expanding Drive-Thru and Community Shield to stay ahead of evolving threats. That afternoon brought the call Marcus had been expecting. Principal Martinez, her voice carefully neutral. "Mr. Thompson, could you come in? There's been a complaint." Marcus arrived to find Jessica Winters in the principal's office, dressed in her best victim costume. Conservative dress, minimal makeup, tissues clutched in her hand. Beside her sat a man in an expensive suit. "This is Ms. Winters and her attorney, Mr. Garrett," Principal Martinez said. They filed a formal complaint alleging that Aisha has been bullying other students about the recent situation. "Bullying?" Marcus kept his voice level despite his rising anger. "My 8-year-old daughter is bullying someone. She told my daughter that I'm a racist who's going to jail," Jessica said, dabbing at dry eyes. "The emotional trauma has been devastating. Little Madison hasn't slept in days." Marcus pulled out his phone. "I'd like to record this meeting for my attorney." "That's not necessary," Mr. Garrett started. "It's completely legal and absolutely necessary," Marcus interrupted. "Principal Martinez, has Aisha ever had a single disciplinary issue?" "No, never. She's a model student." "And has anyone else corroborated this alleged bullying?" "Well, no, but..." "So we have the word of someone currently under federal investigation for civil rights violations against my daughter, who's never had a behavioral issue in her life." Jessica's mask slipped. Your daughter is spreading lies about me, turning children against their parents. She needs to be removed from this school. There it was, the real agenda. Ms. Winters, Principal Martinez said firmly, I've investigated this complaint thoroughly. No teacher or student witnessed any bullying. What they did witness was Aisha answering honestly when asked why she was late to school that day. Stating facts isn't bullying. This is reverse discrimination. Jessica shrieked, You're taking their side because you're afraid of being called racist. I'm taking the side of truth, Principal Martinez replied calmly. And the truth is, your actions traumatized multiple children, including Aisha. If anyone should file a complaint, it's Mr. Thompson. We'll sue, Mr. Garrett threatened. The school, the district, everyone. That's your right, Marcus said, standing. And when you do, we'll subpoena every email, every text, every communication you've ever had about targeting families of color. Discovery goes both ways. Jessica's face went white. Mr. Garrett whispered urgently in her ear. We'll revisit this matter, the attorney said weakly. After they left, Principal Martinez shook her head. The audacity of that woman. Trying to get Aisha expelled? I've already notified the district. Any further harassment of your daughter will be met with restraining orders. Thank you, Marcus said sincerely, for having our backs. Mr. Thompson, what you've done for this community, we should have stood up long ago. I'm ashamed it took such extreme circumstances. That evening, the Parents for Safe Passage leadership met at Marcus's house for added security. The day's events had everyone on edge. They're getting desperate, David Kim observed. Going after our kids now. That's always been their playbook, said Keisha Brown, the Oakland Post reporter who'd joined their movement. Can't beat the parents? Target the children. Classic intimidation. Which is why we document everything, Marcus said. I got the whole meeting with Jessica on audio, adding it to the FBI file. Speaking of FBI, Olivia said, I got an interesting call. They want Parents for Safe Passage to testify at a congressional hearing. Apparently, our model is being studied for national implementation. The room fell silent. Congressional testimony? Their local fight going national? We be painting bigger targets on ourselves, Jerome warned. We already have targets, Maria countered. Might as well make them count for something. After debate, they voted. Unanimous yes. If their story could help other communities, they'd tell it. Later, as the meeting wound down, Sarah pulled Marcus aside. There's something else. I've been tracking property records. Guess who's been quietly buying houses in neighborhoods where families were driven out? She showed him the data. Shell companies traced back to Pinnacle Development Associates had purchased dozens of properties at below-market rates from families who'd fled harassment. This is the smoking gun, Marcus breathed. Direct financial benefit from discrimination. I've compiled everything. Ready for your FBI friend. Send it tonight. This could upgrade charges from civil rights violations to fraud and racketeering. As the last guest left, Marcus found Aisha in her room, working on homework. Her civil rights hero report sat on her desk, complete with hand-drawn illustrations. How was school today, baby girl? Fine. Madison Winters tried to say mean things about you, but Lucy and the other kids stood up for me. Lucy said her mom was wrong about you, and that real friends admit mistakes. That was brave of Lucy. Yeah. Oh, and guess what? Mrs. Chun wants me to present my report at the district assembly. She says it's inspiring. Marcus hugged his daughter, marveling at her resilience. They tried to break her spirit and only made it stronger. His phone buzzed. Agent Williams. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to update you. Based on new evidence, particularly what Ms. Mitchell just sent, we're upgrading charges. This is now a multi-state federal case. Also, we've uncovered something disturbing. There's chatter about potential violence at your upcoming school board meeting. We strongly advise postponing any public appearances. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the community security cameras blinking outside, at the drive-through app showing hundreds of allies online. With respect, Agent Williams, hiding is what they want. We'll take precautions, but we won't be silenced. That school board meeting is about protecting our children's education. We'll be there. I understand. We'll have agents present discreetly. Mr. Thompson, what you've built there, the community response? It's remarkable. We're recommending it as a model for other cities. After the call, Marcus sat on Aisha's bed, watching her add finishing touches to her report. "Dad, are you scared sometimes?" she asked quietly. "Sometimes, yeah. But you know what scares me more? A world where bullies win because good people don't stand up. Is that why we keep fighting? Even when it's hard? That's exactly why. And because I want you to grow up in a world where getting to school doesn't depend on the color of your skin." Aisha nodded solemnly, then brightened. "Plus, we have drive-through now, and Mrs. Kim's cameras, and all our friends. That's right, we're not alone anymore." As Marcus tucked her in, his phone showed the latest drive-through stats: 100,000 users. Community Shield networks in 23 neighborhoods. Hundreds of families protected. Several copycat discrimination rings exposed in other cities. The turning point wasn't just the FBI raids or the arrests. It was the moment communities decided to stop being victims and become defenders. It was parents choosing courage over comfort. It was technology serving justice instead of profit. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The school board meeting, congressional testimony, trials and tribulations. But tonight, in a house protected by community and conviction, a father and daughter were safe. And across Oakland, in homes of every color and creed, families slept better knowing they weren't alone. The watchers were being watched. The hunters had become the hunted. Justice was no longer coming. It had arrived, carried not by federal agents or judges, but by ordinary people who'd extraordinary things when pushed too far. The mean lady had lost. Love had won. And the fight, while not over, had fundamentally shifted. Tomorrow, they drive to school in peace. And that simple act, a black father taking his daughter to get an education, was the greatest victory of all. The federal courthouse in San Francisco was a fortress of marble and metal, its steps crowded with media and supporters as Marcus arrived with his legal team. 6 months had passed since the raids, and today, the first major trial was beginning. Jessica Winters and 14 co-defendants faced federal charges ranging from conspiracy to violate civil rights to racketeering. "Daddy, look at all the people," Aisha said, gripping his hand tightly. She'd insisted on coming for the opening day, wanting to see justice happen. The crowd parted as they approached, many holding signs: "Parents for safe passage, education is a right, no hate in our state." Marcus recognized faces from Oakland, but also strangers who'd driven hours to support them. "Mr. Thompson, how are you feeling about today?" reporters shouted. Marcus paused, lifting Aisha onto his shoulders so she could see over the crowd. "I'm feeling hopeful, not just for our family, but for every family that's been told they don't belong. Today, the truth gets its day in court." Inside, the courtroom was packed. The prosecution table was stacked with evidence boxes, much of it compiled by Marcus and the community. Across the aisle, Jessica Winters sat in a designer suit, her attorney team looking less confident than they had 6 months ago. "The United States versus Jessica Winters, et al., the clerk announced. The Honorable Judge Patricia Chun presiding. Marcus felt Aisha squeeze his hand as Judge Chun entered. An Asian-American woman with silver streaks in her hair and stern eyes that had seen too much injustice. The lead prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Rodriguez, stood for opening arguments. "Your Honor, the government will show that the defendants engaged in a systematic conspiracy to deprive American citizens of their fundamental rights. Using environmental activism as cover, they targeted families based on race, documented their harassment for profit, and caused measurable harm to entire communities." He clicked a remote, and a familiar video appeared on screens. Marcus trying to take Aisha to school, being surrounded and called aggressive. "This wasn't random prejudice," Rodriguez continued. "This was organized, funded, and profitable discrimination. The defendants didn't just block roads, they blocked futures. They didn't just stop cars, they stopped children from getting education. And they did it for money." The defense attorney, predictably, painted a different picture. "Your Honor, my clients are community activists concerned about overdevelopment and traffic safety. Any incidents were misunderstandings blown out of proportion by social media. This prosecution is political persecution of concerned citizens exercising First Amendment rights. Marcus almost laughed at the audacity. But then Rodriguez called his first witness. The government calls Sarah Mitchell. Sarah walked to the stand, visibly nervous but determined. Over the next hour, she laid out the entire scheme, the training sessions, the targeting lists, the real estate connections. She'd brought receipts, literally, showing payments to protesters and profit distributions from forced property sales. "I'm ashamed of my participation," Sarah said, looking directly at Jessica. "We told ourselves we were protecting property values, but we were destroying lives. And some of us were getting rich doing it." The defense tried to discredit her as a disgruntled former member, but Sarah had dates, names, and documents. By lunch, Jessica's confident facade was cracking. That afternoon, more witnesses testified. Maria Gonzalez described nearly losing her nursing job. David Kim talked about the humiliation of being fired for tardiness caused by illegal blockades. Family after family shared their stories. But it was the financial evidence that truly damned them. FBI forensic accountants showed how property values in targeted neighborhoods dropped, how shell companies swooped in to buy, how those same properties were flipped months later for massive profits. The defendants created the problem, the analysts testified, then profited from the solution. Classic racketeering. On day 3, Marcus took the stand. For 2 hours, he walked through every incident, every threat, every moment of fear his daughter had experienced. He stayed calm, factual, letting the evidence speak. "Mr. Thompson," Rodriguez asked, "why did you build drive-through?" "Because no family should have to choose between their safety and their child's education. Because documentation is protection. Because when systems fail us, we build our own." The defense attorney tried to paint him as aggressive, as someone who'd overreacted to peaceful protests. Marcus was ready. "Sir, do you think blocking a child from school is peaceful?" Marcus asked. "I'm asking the questions, Mr. Thompson. Do you think surrounding a black man with cameras hoping he'll react is peaceful? Do you think making an 8-year-old cry is peaceful?" "Your Honor, do you think," Marcus continued, his voice rising slightly, "that targeting families by race, documenting their distress, and selling their pain for profit is peaceful?" The judge allowed it. The defense attorney retreated. But the most powerful moment came when Aisha was called as a witness. Marcus had fought against it, but the prosecutors said her voice was crucial. With special accommodations for her age, she told her story. "I just wanted to show my science project," she said simply. "I worked really hard on it, but the lady wouldn't let us through. She called my daddy mean names. She made me think we did something wrong just by trying to go to school." "How did that make you feel?" Rodriguez asked gently. "Scared and confused, because my daddy always taught me to be kind to everyone, but she wasn't being kind to us." "Aisha, do you know why they stopped you?" Aisha looked at Jessica Winters. "Because we're black, and she didn't think we belonged there." The courtroom was silent. Jessica's attorney didn't even attempt cross-examination. The trial continued for 2 weeks. Technical evidence about property schemes. Testimony from FBI agents about the national network. Former protesters who'd realized they'd been used. The accumulated weight of evidence was crushing. Marcus used the time to expand drive-through's features. Sitting in court, he coded new legal resource modules, court watch functions, and support networks for families facing harassment. The app had become more than protection. It was a movement. On the final day, closing arguments brought everything full circle. "The defendants want you to believe this was about neighborhood safety," Rodriguez said. "But safe from what? From families trying to get to school? From nurses going to work? From teachers doing their jobs? No, this was about profit built on prejudice, fear monetized into fortune." The defense made one last attempt to frame it as overreach, as concerned citizens being railroaded. But the evidence was too strong, the patterns too clear, the harm too documented. The jury deliberated for just 6 hours. As they filed back in, Marcus held Aisha's hand tightly. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor. On the charge of conspiracy to violate civil rights, how do you find?" "Guilty," On the charge of racketeering, guilty. Charge after charge, guilty verdict after guilty verdict. Jessica Winter's face went white with each pronouncement. Her co-defendants slumped in their chairs. The courtroom erupted in subdued cheers and tears. Judge Chin set sentencing for next month, but revoked bail for the primary conspirators, including Jessica. As marshals led them away, Jessica locked eyes with Marcus. He expected hatred, but saw something else, fear. The same fear she tried to instill in others, now reflected back. Outside the courthouse, the celebration was more exuberant. Parents for Safe Passage members hugged and cried. Media surrounded them. But Marcus noticed Aisha had gone quiet. "You okay, baby girl? Is it really over, Daddy?" Marcus knelt to her level. "The trial is over. But our work? That continues. There are still families facing what we faced. Still communities that need drive-through. Still kids who need safe passage to school. So we keep fighting, we keep building, we keep protecting, we keep standing up. But now we do it with the law clearly on our side." That evening, Parents for Safe Passage held a victory gathering at the community center. The mood was jubilant but reflective. They'd won a major battle, but everyone understood the war against systematic discrimination continued. "This verdict doesn't erase the trauma," Maria said during her speech. "It doesn't give back lost jobs or missed school days. But it sends a message. Target our families, face consequences." David Kim announced he'd been hired by a new school district that specifically valued his stand against discrimination. They said they wanted teachers who'd fight for all students. "Guess getting fired was the best thing that happened to me." Olivia outlined next steps: civil lawsuits for damages, policy changes at city level, and expanding legal protections. "We're drafting model legislation called Aisha's Law, making it a specific crime to block access to education." Marcus felt overwhelmed by the support and progress. But it was Mrs. Kim who brought him to tears. "Marcus Thompson," she announced, "you didn't just save your daughter. You saved this community. My grandfather faced discrimination in the 1940s. He'd be proud to see us standing together now, Black, Asian, Latino, white, as one family." As the evening wound down, Marcus found himself outside with Jerome, watching their kids play together in the parking lot. Drive-through showed green dots throughout Oakland, a network of protection that hadn't existed a year ago. "You know, Jessica's crew won't be the last," Jerome said. "Others will try new tactics. Then we'll develop new defenses. That's what we do. Adapt, overcome, protect." His phone buzzed with a message from Agent Williams. "Congratulations. FYI, based on this case, DOJ is creating a task force for similar prosecutions nationwide. Your model is becoming federal strategy." Marcus shared the news with Jerome, who whistled low. From blocked road to federal task force. Hell of a journey. "And it started with just trying to get to school," Marcus mused. "Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest stands." Later that night, tucking Aisha into bed, Marcus found her writing in a journal. "What are you working on?" "Mrs. Chun said I should write about the trial. For history, so other kids know what happened." Marcus read over her shoulder. "Today the mean lady went to jail. But more important, families are safe. My daddy says winning isn't about punishing bad people. It's about protecting good people. I think that's what heroes really do." "That's beautiful, baby girl." "Dad, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. You were so brave on that stand." "We were brave together, right? All of us." "That's right. All of us together." As Marcus turned off her light, his phone showed the latest drive-through statistics: 250,000 users nationwide. 15 similar apps inspired by their model in development. 3 states considering legislation based on their experience. The legal victory was satisfying, but the real triumph was transformation. A community that had been divided was now united. Children who'd been traumatized were now empowered. Technology built for defense was now used for connection. Jessica Winters would spend years in federal prison. Her co-conspirators faced similar fates. The real estate scheme was dismantled, with millions in restitution ordered for affected families. But in a bedroom in Oakland, a little girl slept peacefully, knowing she could go to school tomorrow without fear. And that, Marcus thought, was the greatest victory of all. 1 year later, the Oakwood Elementary Auditorium buzzed with excitement as students, parents, and media gathered for the launch of the Tech Pathways program. Marcus stood backstage with Aisha, who wore a bright yellow Student Tech Ambassador badge. "Remember," he told her, "speak slowly and clearly. And if you get nervous, look for friendly faces in the crowd." Aisha finished. "I know, Dad. I've got this." And she did. At 9 years old, Aisha had become a confident speaker, her experience transforming trauma into purpose. Principal Martinez took the stage. "Today marks a new chapter for our school. From a place that made headlines for discrimination, we're now leading the nation in inclusive STEM education. Please welcome the founder of Tech Pathways, Marcus Thompson." The applause was thunderous. Marcus saw familiar faces: Maria Gonzalez, now on the school board; David Kim, teaching again and heading the program's teacher training; Sarah Mitchell, who become an anti-racism educator; the ever-present Mrs. Kim in the front row. "Thank you," Marcus began. "A year ago, getting our children to school was a battle. Today, we're not just getting them here. We're preparing them for futures we couldn't have imagined." He clicked a remote, showing the program overview. Tech Pathways isn't just about coding. It's about critical thinking, problem-solving, and using technology for justice. Every student will learn to build apps, but more importantly, they'll learn to build communities. The program was comprehensive. Basic coding for all grade levels. App development focused on community solutions. Digital citizenship and online safety. A mentorship program pairing students with tech professionals. Equipment provided free to all families. Our pilot student ambassadors have already created amazing projects, Marcus continued. "Aisha, would you like to show them?" Aisha bounced on a stage, pulling up her app on the screen. "I made Safe Route Kids. It's like drive-through, but for students. If someone's bothering you or you feel unsafe, you can alert trusted adults and record what's happening." She demonstrated the features she'd coded with Marcus's guidance. Simple interface, one-button alerts, and integration with school safety systems. The audience was impressed, but Aisha wasn't done. My friend Lucy made an app for reporting bullying anonymously. David made one that translates school announcements for parents who speak different languages. We're not just learning to code, we're coding to help. More students presented their projects. Homework help networks, lunch sharing programs for kids who forgot money, after-school activity coordinators. Each app addressed real problems they'd identified in their community. "This is what happens when you empower children," Marcus said, returning to the podium. "They don't just consume technology, they create solutions." The formal presentation ended with announcing that Tech Pathways would expand to 5 more schools, funded by a combination of lawsuit settlements, tech company partnerships, and federal grants. Marcus's model was spreading far beyond Oakland. During the reception, Marcus was pulled aside by Congresswoman Patricia Lewis, who'd flown in for the event. "Mr. Thompson, the House Education Committee wants you to testify next month. We're drafting the Safe Passage to Education Act, making it a federal crime to systematically block access to schools. Your testimony could help pass it." "I'll be there," Marcus assured her, with bells on. Across the room, Aisha was teaching a group of younger students basic coding concepts using a game she designed. Her confidence was remarkable. The scared little girl from that morning at the blockade had become a leader. "She's something special," Sarah Mitchell said, joining Marcus. "You both are." Sarah had undergone her own transformation. Once part of the problem, she now ran workshops on recognizing and combating subtle discrimination. Her insider knowledge made her uniquely effective at reaching white communities. "Any word from the other side?" Marcus asked. "Jessica's writing a book from prison, victimized by wokeness or some nonsense. But her movement is fractured. Some doubled down, went further underground. Others, well, some actually woke up. I got a letter from one protester thanking me for opening her eyes." "Redemption is always possible," Marcus said, meaning it. The celebration was interrupted by alerts on everyone's phones. Drive-Through, now a nonprofit with a board and full-time staff, had pushed a notification about suspicious activity near a school in Texas. Within minutes, the The local network had responded, documenting and preventing what looked like another targeted harassment campaign. Still saving families, Maria said, checking her phone. Your app has stopped dozens of these incidents nationwide. Our app, Marcus corrected. Community built, community run. As the event wound down, local news interviewed various participants. The coverage would be positive, focusing on transformation and hope rather than past trauma. But Marcus knew the work continued. That evening, the Thompson House hosted the monthly Parents for Safe Passage leadership meeting. The organization had evolved from crisis response to proactive community building. They ran Know Your Rights workshops, voter registration drives, and cultural exchange programs. Federal legislation is great, Jerome said, reviewing their agenda. But real change happens at the community level. We need to stay vigilant. They discussed new challenges, subtler forms of discrimination, online harassment campaigns, and attempts to infiltrate their organization. The tactics had evolved, but so had their responses. Drive-Through 3.0 launches next month, Chin reported. AI-powered pattern recognition to identify harassment campaigns before they escalate, plus integration with mental health resources for affected families. Speaking of mental health, Olivia added, the settlement fund has now provided therapy for over 200 families, healing the trauma, not just winning lawsuits. Marcus felt pride in what they'd built, but remained focused on the future. Systems of oppression didn't disappear with one victory. They adapted, evolved, found new vulnerabilities. After the meeting, Marcus and Aisha sat on their porch, a ritual they'd developed. The street was quiet, protected by community rather than cameras now. Neighbors waved as they passed. Kids played freely. Dad, do you think there will always be mean people like Jessica? Aisha asked. Probably, baby girl. Fear and hatred don't disappear overnight. But you know what else doesn't disappear? Good people standing together. Love defending itself. Communities protecting their children. Is that why we keep teaching tech pathways? To make more good people stronger. Exactly. Every kid who learns to code for justice. Every family that downloads Drive-Through. Every neighbor who stands up. We're building an army of love. Aisha smiled. An army of love. I like that. Can I use it for my congressional testimony? Marcus laughed. His daughter had insisted on testifying alongside him. And after much debate, Congress had agreed to hear from the young voice that had helped spark a movement. It's all yours, baby girl. His phone buzzed with a video message from a mother in Atlanta. Mr. Thompson wanted you to see this. My son made it to school safely today, thanks to Drive-Through alerts about a problem intersection. You saved another family. Thank you. These messages came daily now. Families protected, discrimination prevented, communities connected. The ripple effects of their stand continued spreading. Later that night, Marcus checked on Aisha to find her coding by flashlight. You should be sleeping, young lady. I had an idea. What if Safe Route kids could connect with crossing guards and safety patrols? Like a whole network, keeping kids safe. That's brilliant. But it's also past bedtime. The code will still be there tomorrow. Okay. She closed her laptop reluctantly. Dad, I love you. Love you too, baby girl. To the moon and back. To the code and back, she corrected with a giggle. As Marcus returned to his office, he reflected on the journey. From a blocked road to federal legislation. From isolation to community. From victimization to empowerment. But numbers couldn't capture the real victory. Somewhere tonight, a black father would drive his daughter to school tomorrow without fear. A Latino mother would make it to her nursing shift on time. An Asian teacher would enter his classroom unharassed. Jessica Winters had wanted to make them feel like they didn't belong. Instead, she created an unstoppable movement of belonging, a technological and human network that protected the vulnerable and empowered the marginalized. The war against discrimination would never truly end. But now, families had shields. Children had swords. Communities had fortresses built of code and courage. And in Oakland, a father and daughter would wake tomorrow ready to face whatever came. Together, protected, unafraid. The mean lady had lost more than her freedom. She'd lost her power to terrorize. And in its place rose something beautiful. Hope coded into reality, one family at a time. 2 years after the verdict, Marcus stood in the conference room of a newly constructed Thompson Family Technology Center, watching the live feed from Washington, D.C. The Safe Passage to Education Act was up for final vote, and Aisha was there as the youngest person ever to testify before Congress on a federal education bill. And now, the speaker announced, we'll hear from Miss Aisha Thompson, whose experience inspired this landmark legislation. Marcus's heart swelled as his now 10-year-old daughter approached the microphone with confidence that belied her age. She wore the yellow dress they'd picked out together, her hair in the crown braid style her mother used to do. "Good morning," Aisha began, her voice clear and strong. 2 years ago, someone tried to stop me from going to school because of the color of my skin. They failed, not because they weren't powerful, but because my community was more powerful. And today, I'm here to make sure no child ever faces that again. The room in D.C. was silent as Aisha told her story, not as a victim, but as a victor. She spoke about drive-through, about tech pathways, about the thousands of children now learning to code for justice. She ended with words that would be quoted in newspapers nationwide. Some people build walls. We build bridges. Some people block roads. We build new ones. And some people try to stop the future. But you can't stop children who've learned to code their own destiny. The committee erupted in applause. Back in Oakland, the Technology Center, built where Jessica's group used to plan their blockades, cheered even louder. Marcus wiped away tears as texts flooded in from parents for Safe Passage members watching across the country. "That's our girl," Maria said, hugging Marcus. She was now Lieutenant Governor of California, elected on a platform of educational equity. The vote was called. One by one, representatives voted yes. The final tally, 397 to 38. The Safe Passage to Education Act passed overwhelmingly, making it a federal crime with mandatory minimums to systematically block access to education. But the real sweet justice was what happened next. Marcus's phone rang, an unknown number with a federal prison prefix. "This is a prepaid call from Jessica Winters at the Federal Correctional Institution." To accept. Marcus almost hung up. Then curiosity won. He accepted. "Mr. Thompson?" Jessica's voice was smaller than he remembered. "Thank you for taking my call. What do you want, Jessica?" I watched your daughter's testimony from the prison library, and I need to say something." Marcus waited, saying nothing. "I was wrong. About everything. I've had 2 years to think, to read, to learn. I grew up being taught to fear people like you, to see you as threats to our way of life. But watching Aisha today, she's brilliant, confident, everything I try to stop her from becoming. Your point, I want to make amends. I know I can't undo the harm, but I've been working with the prison education program, teaching literacy to other inmates. Many are women of color who never got the chances they deserved. I'm trying to balance the scales even a little." Marcus processed this. "Why tell me?" "Because I need you to know that your stand changed more than laws. It changed hearts, even ones as hard as mine. I'm writing a new book, From Hate to Hope, a journey of redemption. All proceeds will go to Tech Pathways. It's not enough, but it's a start. Redemption is earned through actions, not words," Marcus said carefully. "I know. That's why I'm also testifying for the prosecution in the remaining trials, exposing everyone who was involved. I've lost everything, my freedom, my reputation, my misguided cause. But maybe I can help stop others from making my mistakes." After a pause, Marcus said, "I'll think about it. But Jessica, this isn't about my forgiveness. It's about the hundreds of families you terrorized. I understand. Thank you for listening." The call ended. Marcus stood in his office, looking out at the thriving community center. Kids were arriving for afternoon Tech Pathways classes. Parents chatted in the courtyard. The very ground that had been poisoned by hate now bloomed with hope. Chun knocked and entered. "You okay? Saw you take that call." Marcus shared the conversation. Chun whistled low. "Plot twist of the century. You believe her? I believe people can change. Whether she has, time will tell." That evening, the Thompson Center hosted a celebration. The Safe Passage Act signing was scheduled for next week, and Aisha would stand beside the president as the youngest witness to a federal civil rights bill. Speech. Speech. The crowd chanted as Marcus took the stage. 2 years ago, we just wanted to get to school, he began. Today, we've changed federal law. But laws are just words on paper. Real change happens here. He touched his chest, and here, he gestured to the crowd. Every parent who stood up, every neighbor who said enough, every child who refused to be intimidated. You are the real heroes. The celebration continued late into the night. Drive-thru had evolved into a comprehensive safety platform used by 2 million families. Tech Pathways was now a national program. The Thompson Center had become a model for community-driven education. But the sweetest justice came in quiet moments, like when former protesters' children enrolled in Tech Pathways, their parents approaching Marcus sheepishly to apologize and ask if their kids were welcome. They always were. Like when Madison Winters, Jessica's daughter, asked Aisha to teach her coding. The two girls had become unlikely friends, bonding over their shared experience of having their worlds turned upside down. Like when property values in the protected neighborhoods actually increased after becoming more diverse, proving that inclusion created value, not destroyed it. That night, as Marcus tucked Aisha in, she showed him her latest project, an app connecting formerly incarcerated people with tech training programs. I was thinking about Jessica, Aisha explained. If she's really trying to change, maybe she could teach coding in prison, help other people have new starts. That's a beautiful idea, baby girl. But why help someone who hurt us? Because that's what breaks the cycle, right? Hurt people, but help people. If we don't give her a chance to be better, aren't we just creating more Jessicas? The wisdom of children. Marcus hugged his daughter, marveling at her capacity for forgiveness and forward thinking. You're going to change the world, you know that. We already did, Dad. Now we're just making it stick. The next morning brought unexpected news. The Oakland Museum of Contemporary History wanted to create an exhibit on the Parents for Safe Passage movement. They had the edited videos that had started it all, the protest signs, the first drive-through prototype, even the toll booth Marcus had briefly considered building. We want to show how ordinary people created extraordinary change, the curator explained. How technology and community combined to fight injustice. Marcus agreed, with one condition. The exhibit would be interactive, teaching visitors how to organize, document, and protect their own communities. As he worked with the museum team, his phone buzzed with a news alert. Jessica's new book had leaked early, and the excerpts were stunning. She detailed the entire network, names, funding sources, tactics. She exposed politicians still in office, business leaders who'd profited, and law enforcement who'd collaborated. The revelations triggered a new wave of investigations. More arrests, more trials. The network that had seemed invincible was crumbling completely. Sarah Mitchell called, excited. Did you see? 3 more cities are filing RICO cases based on Jessica's information. She's burning it all down. From the inside, Marcus mused. Sometimes the most effective reformers are former believers. That weekend, Aisha presented her prison coding program idea at a Tech Pathway showcase. Investors were interested. Rehabilitation organizations were eager to partner. Even the Federal Bureau of Prisons sent a representative. Coding saved my community, Aisha explained to the audience. It can save individuals too. Everyone deserves a chance to debug their life and start fresh. The program would launch 6 months later, with Jessica Winters as its first instructor, teaching remotely from federal prison. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The woman who'd tried to block education now facilitating it. But the universe had one more twist. During the Safe Passage Act signing ceremony, the president called Marcus and Aisha to the podium. These two remind us that change doesn't come from Washington. It comes from parents who refuse to accept injustice, from children who dare to dream bigger, from communities that choose love over fear. As the president signed the bill, making it federal law, cameras captured Aisha leaning over to whisper something. The president laughed, then announced, "Miss Thompson just asked if I knew how to code. When I said no, she offered to teach me. I think I'll take her up on that." The photo of Aisha high-fiving the president after he agreed to learn coding would become iconic. But for Marcus, the sweeter image was the one nobody captured. His daughter skipping down the White House steps, already planning her curriculum for the most powerful person in the free world. That night, in their hotel room, Aisha asked, "Dad, are you proud of how things turned out?" Marcus thought about the journey, from that terrifying morning at the blockade to the White House, from isolation to community, from victim to victor. "I'm proud of us, baby girl. All of us. We didn't just win. We transformed. Even Jessica, in her way." "Good," Aisha said, already half asleep. "Because I have ideas for Drive-Thru 4.0. Global expansion, real-time translation, refugee support modules." Marcus smiled. His daughter, the revolutionary, never stopped dreaming bigger. The sweet justice wasn't in Jessica's imprisonment or the laws passed or the fame achieved. It was in this, a black father and his daughter, safe and celebrated, planning how to protect others. It was in former enemies becoming allies. It was in hate being replaced by hope, one line of code at a time. Tomorrow, they'd fly home to Oakland, to their community, to their center, to their continued work. But tonight, in the capital of a nation they'd helped change, they rested in the sweetest justice of all. They'd won by refusing to become what their enemies thought they were. They'd won by building instead of destroying. They'd won by turning a moment of hate into a movement of love. And that victory would echo for generations. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, 3 years after the Safe Passage Act became law. Marcus was reviewing code for Drive-Thru's new AI mediator feature when the subject line caught his eye. From Johannesburg, "Your model is saving lives. Dear Mr. Thompson, my name is Amara Dubé, and I lead a parents' coalition in South Africa. We've adapted your drive-through model to protect children walking to school through dangerous areas. In 3 months, we've prevented 14 kidnapping attempts and connected 500 families with safe passage routes. Your courage to stand up in Oakland has rippled across the ocean. Thank you for showing us the way." Marcus leaned back in his chair, overwhelmed. His office walls were covered with similar letters from Mumbai, Sao Paulo, London, Detroit. The Oakland model, as academics called it, had become a global blueprint for community-driven safety. "Dad, you're going to be late," Aisha called from downstairs. Now 13 and taller than ever, she maintained her passion for justice tech while adding new interests: debate team, youth orchestra, and environmental science. Today was special. They were attending the ribbon cutting for the 20th Tech Pathways Center, this one in Mississippi, built on the site of a former segregation academy. The flight gave Marcus time to reflect on the ripple effects of their stand. Drive-Thru had evolved far beyond its original purpose. The platform now included safe passage routing for 5 million users globally, real-time translation in 47 languages, mental health support connections, legal aid matching, community organizing tools, educational resource sharing, small business protection networks. Tech companies had tried to buy it repeatedly, offering hundreds of millions. Marcus and the board had refused every time. Drive-Thru remained a nonprofit, governed by the communities it served. Looking at the impact reports, Aisha asked, noticing his laptop screen. "Yeah, did you know Drive-Thru prevented a mass eviction in Bangladesh last month? Residents used it to coordinate legal defense and media attention." "That's awesome. Oh, did you see Mom's journal?" Marcus's heart skipped. Aisha rarely mentioned Aria's journals, which they discovered while renovating the house. "What about them?" "I was reading the one from when she was pregnant with me. She wrote about hoping I'd grow up in a world where getting to school was safe for everyone. She literally wrote, 'I dream of Aisha never fearing the journey to education.'" Aisha's eyes glistened. "We made her dream real, Dad." Marcus pulled his daughter close, unable to speak. Aria would have been so proud of who Aisha had become. Not just smart and capable, but compassionate and driven by justice. They landed in Jackson to find a crowd waiting. The new Tech Pathways Center was beautiful. Solar panels, garden spaces, maker labs, and coding classrooms. But it was the crowd that moved Marcus. Black and white families mingling freely, children excitedly comparing app ideas, elderly residents learning tablets from teenage mentors. Mr. Thompson, a young man approached, maybe 16. I'm Deshaun. I used drive-through last year when some folks tried to stop our baseball team from practicing at the nice field. Recorded everything, got community support. Now we have equal access. You inspired me to build my own app. It connects rural students with online tutors. Story after story like Deshaun's. Marcus signed autographs feeling like a fraud. He'd just been a dad trying to get his kid to school. But Aisha reminded him, sometimes the most powerful acts are the simplest ones. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was emotional. The center was dedicated to Mamie Till Mobley, whose courage in showing the world what hatred had done to her son had sparked an earlier civil rights movement. From Emmett Till to Aisha Thompson, the mayor said, Mississippi has traveled a long journey. We're not done, but today we take another step toward justice. Marcus spoke about transformation, about how the same technology used to spread hate could be repurposed to spread hope. But it was Aisha who stole the show, demonstrating a new app she developed, Justice Journey, a game teaching young children about civil rights through interactive stories. Players navigate historical and modern challenges, she explained, learning how ordinary people created extraordinary change. Each level unlocks real-world tools for standing up to injustice. The crowd erupted when she announced every Mississippi student would get free access, funded by sales in other markets. After the ceremony, they toured the center. In one classroom, elderly white residents were learning drive-through from black teenagers, a reversal of historical power dynamics that would have been unthinkable years ago. This all started with you not backing down, the center's director, Dr. Kendra Washington, told Marcus. My grandmother participated in the Montgomery bus boycott. She'd be amazed to see us using smartphones for the same fight. That evening, at the community celebration, Marcus received a video call that shocked everyone. Jessica Winters, broadcasting from a prison computer lab where she taught coding. I wanted to congratulate you on the new center, she said, her orange jumpsuit a stark reminder of consequences. And to share something. My students here, all women of color I once would have feared, just launched their first app. It helps formerly incarcerated people find housing and jobs. We called it Second Chances. The room was silent, processing this transformation. Then one of Jessica's students appeared on screen, a young black woman named Tasha. Mr. Thompson, Miss Aisha, thank you. I'm in here for protecting my kids from an abusive ex, lost everything. But Miss Jessica taught me coding, said y'all proved anyone could change their stars with technology. Now I got a job waiting when I get out. Tech company wants me because of my app skills. More students shared stories. Women who'd been written off by society, now writing code. The ultimate ripple effect. The oppressor becoming liberator, the cycles of harm breaking through education. Keep up the good work, Marcus told them, meaning it. Everyone deserves the chance to code their future. After the call, the celebration resumed with renewed energy. Musicians played, children danced, and the smell of barbecue filled the air. But Marcus noticed Aisha had slipped away. He found her in the center's memorial garden, reading names on a wall dedicated to those denied education through history. You okay, baby girl? Just thinking. All these people who fought and died just to learn. And we almost let it happen again. If you hadn't stood up that morning. But I did. We did. And now look, kids in Mississippi, South Africa, everywhere, they're safer because of what we built together. Dad, I want to do more. I've been accepted to Stanford's Young Scholars Program. Computer science and social justice dual track. But it means leaving home at 15. Marcus felt the parental pull between protection and purpose. His baby girl, ready to fly. What does your heart tell you? I've got more apps to build, more kids to teach, more justice to code. But I'm scared too. Good. Fear keeps us sharp, but doesn't stop us. Remember what you told Congress? You can't stop children who've learned to code their own destiny. Aisha smiled through tears. Will you help me build a drive-through module for college safety? Already started the framework. Been coding it since you mentioned Stanford last month. You knew I'd decide to go. I knew you'd choose growth. It's who you are, who your mother was, who we raised you to be. They returned to the celebration hand in hand. The ripples continued spreading. Each person there would go home and create their own waves of change. Teachers would integrate justice coding into curricula. Parents would download drive-through. Children would dream bigger. Later that night, in their hotel room, Marcus showed Aisha something he'd been working on, the Aria Foundation, named for her mother, providing full-tech pathway scholarships to children affected by discrimination. The Jessica Winters book proceeds funded the initial endowment, he explained. Seemed fitting, turning her hate money into hope money. Mom would love the irony, Aisha laughed. And the impact. As Aisha slept, Marcus stood on the balcony, looking out at Jackson's lights. His phone showed drive-through alerts from around the world, a family safely navigating protests in Hong Kong, students documenting harassment in Berlin, workers organizing in Cairo. Every ping represented a life protected, a right defended, a community strengthened. The ripples had become waves, reshaping shorelines of injustice wherever they crashed. Tomorrow, they'd fly home. Aisha would prepare for Stanford. Marcus would code new features. The work would continue. But tonight, in a city once synonymous with segregation, now hosting integrated coding classes, the ripple effect was clear. One father's refusal to be intimidated had become a global movement. One daughter's tears had become millions of children's shields. One morning's injustice had become endless mornings of possibility. The mean lady had thrown a stone, thinking it would sink them. Instead, it had created ripples that would wash away barriers for generations. And somewhere in heaven, Aria was smiling, watching her husband and daughter change the world, one line of code at a time. 5 years after the morning that changed everything, Marcus stood in his home office, packing boxes. The house that had been their fortress was being donated to parents for safe passage as a community center. He and Aisha were moving to a smaller place. She was at Stanford most of the year anyway, already working on her third startup focused on educational equity. Each item he packed carried memories. The security cameras Mrs. Kim had helped install, now obsolete, the neighborhood watch making them unnecessary. The first drive-through prototype headed to the Smithsonian's American History Collection. Photos from the journey. Aisha's first science fair, the convoy, the White House, the global expansion celebrations. Found it, Aisha called out, emerging from the attic with a dusty box. Inside was her original science project, the water purification system that had started it all. Remember when this was our biggest worry? Whether I'd make it to present this. Feels like a lifetime ago, Marcus said, carefully wrapping the project. It would be displayed at the Oakland Museum's permanent exhibit on their movement. Dad, I've been thinking about Jessica's release next month. She served 5 years, got early release for cooperation and good behavior. What happens when she gets out? Marcus had been thinking about it too. Jessica Winters, the architect of their trauma, would soon be free. But she'd also become one of their most effective allies from behind bars, exposing the entire network and teaching coding to hundreds of incarcerated women. I think, Marcus said slowly, she continues her journey. She's applied to work with Second Chances full-time, helping other formerly incarcerated people. The parole board asked for a community impact statement. I recommended approval. Aisha nodded. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but it does mean allowing growth. That's what you taught me. They continued packing in comfortable silence, occasionally sharing memories. The doorbell rang, Chen arriving to help with the heavy furniture. Can't believe you're really donating the house, Chen said, surveying the boxes. This place is history. Exactly why it should serve the community, Marcus replied. Every room will be used for something that helps families. Aria would have loved that. As they loaded boxes, neighbors stopped by to help and share stories. The Gonzalez family, whose daughter now ran a tech pathways center in Los Angeles. The Kims, whose son had created an app preventing elder abuse. The new families who'd moved in after property values stabilized and diversified. You changed this whole neighborhood, old Mr. Peterson said, despite having been skeptical during the early protests. Used to be fear on both sides. Now look, my grandson plays with kids from every background. That's the world it should be. That evening, Parents for Safe Passage held their final meeting in Marcus's living room before it became the Aisha Thompson Community Center. The organization had evolved from crisis response to proactive institution, with chapters in every state in 12 countries. Let's reflect on lessons learned, Maria suggested. She was in her second term as lieutenant governor, pushing through legislation that made California a model for educational equity. Jerome started, document everything. Y'all remember I was skeptical about all the recording at first. Now it's standard practice. Can't fight what you can't prove. Build coalitions, added David Kim, now superintendent of Oakland schools. When we stood together, Black, Asian, Latino, white, we became unstoppable. Use your skills for justice, Sarah Mitchell contributed via video call from D.C., where she directed a national anti-racism organization. Marcus showed us that whatever talent you have can be weaponized for good. Don't wait for permission to solve problems, Chun said. Drive-through existed because Marcus built it, not because some committee approved it. Center the children, Principal Martinez added. Every decision we made thinking about impact on kids led us right. Remember that hurt people, Olivia said, but also that people can change. Even Jessica proves that. More lessons flowed, the power of transparency, the importance of mental health support, the value of converting enemies to allies, the need for sustained vigilance, the joy in transformation. What about you, Marcus? Maria asked. What's your biggest lesson? Marcus thought carefully. That ordinary people doing ordinary things with extraordinary love can change the world. I wasn't special. I was just a dad who loved his daughter. That love, multiplied by community, became revolutionary. My turn, Aisha said. I learned that standing up to bullies creates permission for others to stand. Every time someone downloads drive-through or enters tech pathways, they're saying, me too, I'll stand. The meeting ended with announcements of new initiatives. Drive-through was launching satellite mapping for refugee camps. Tech Pathways was partnering with tribal nations for indigenous coding programs. The ARIA Foundation had funded its 1,000th scholarship. After everyone left, Marcus and Aisha sat on the porch one last time. The street was peaceful, children playing as parents watched, the very scene they'd fought to protect. Any regrets? Aisha asked. None about fighting back. Maybe some about how long I let fear control me before that morning. How many families suffered while I kept my head down? You can't carry that. You acted when it mattered. And look what grew from that action. Marcus's phone buzzed with a notification. Drive-through had just registered its 10 millionth user. A grandmother in the Philippines protecting her grandchildren's route to school. The ripples continuing. I have something for you, Aisha said, pulling out a wrapped package. Inside was a custom-bound book, Letters to Dad, How You Changed the World. Marcus opened it to find messages from hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by their stand. Parents who'd gotten children safely to school. Students who'd learned to code through tech pathways. Families reunited through drive-throughs, refugee programs. Even a letter from Jessica Winters. Mr. Thompson, Jessica's letter read, I took everything from you that morning, peace, safety, anonymity. You gave it all back multiplied. You turned my hatred into your fuel for love. I'll spend my remaining years trying to balance those scales. Thank you for showing me who I could become instead of leaving me who I was. Marcus wiped his eyes, overwhelmed by the collective gratitude. There's one more, Aisha said, pointing to the last page. In Aisha's handwriting. Dad, that morning when I was 8, watching you stand up to the mean lady, I learned what courage looked like. Not the absence of fear, but love in action despite fear. You taught me that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, but also that justice anywhere can become justice everywhere if we build the right bridges. Thank you for showing me that we don't have to accept the world as it is. We can code it as it should be. We can debug hate with love. We can upload hope to override fear. Mom will be so proud of who you become. A man who turned personal pain into public progress. A father who protected not just his daughter, but every daughter. A neighbor who made the whole world his neighborhood. I love you to the code and back, Aisha. They held each other as the sun set on their old life, ready to rise on whatever came next. The house would serve others now. Their story would inspire future generations. The tools they built would evolve and expand. Ready for the next chapter? Aisha asked. With you? Always. As they drove away from the house for the last time, Marcus reflected on the journey. From a blocked road to a global movement. From a moment of discrimination to a lifetime of determination. From one father and daughter to millions standing together. The mean lady had taught them the most valuable lesson of all, that ordinary people, armed with love and technology, could extraordinarily change the world. That hatred was no match for organized hope. That the future belonged to those brave enough to code it with justice. Behind them, the sun set on the old Oakland. Ahead, it rose on the world they'd helped build, where every child could get to school safely, where communities protected each other, where standing up for right was supported by millions. Aisha put on their old science playlist as they drove. She blinded me with science, filling the car with memories and possibility. Hey, Dad, she said as they headed toward their new beginning. We did good, didn't we? Marcus smiled, thinking of water purification systems and toll booths never built, of federal laws and global movements, of enemies becoming allies and ripples becoming waves. Yeah, baby girl, we did real good. And somewhere in the distance, another parent was driving their child to school, protected by the network of love they'd built, adding their own ripples to the endless ocean of change. The road ahead was clear. The journey continued. The lessons lived on. Justice had won. Love had triumphed. And morning after morning, in cities across the world, children arrived safely at school because one father had refused to turn around. That was the greatest lesson of all, that the smallest stand, taken with love, could change everything. The mean lady had lost. Humanity had won. And the code of justice would run forever, one family at a time.